For years, as Williamson County's population has grown, justices of the peace have been asking for help with the increasing number of death cases. This week, on Inside the Investigation, Arezow Doost explains why a new solution to help the judges is already facing challenges. Welcome to Inside the Investigation. This week, I'm joined by investigative reporter Arezow Doost. Arezow, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Let's jump right in. So for over a year, you and our investigative team have been highlighting a long-standing practice in Texas where justice of the peace, often without a background in medicine, can determine cause and manner of death in most parts of this state. Tell us why that is.
Well, you have to explain, the law first, Kelly. And we've been looking at this, as you mentioned, for more than a year now. Texas law says counties that hit a population of 2.5 million are required to establish a medical examiner's offices. But if you haven't hit that population threshold, counties can create their own medical examiner's office through commissioner's court. But here's the interesting thing. Across Texas, out of 254 counties, only 14 counties today have a medical examiner's office.
Wow. So many are not doing that, even though they can do it as an option. Your story from this week focuses on Williamson County, which is in a peculiar spot. They're growing really fast, and it's, as you explained in your reporting, creating challenges.
Absolutely. And it goes back to this law. For years now, justice of the peace judges who determine cause and manner of death and who are handling these death cases say the growing population is impacting their work inside their courtroom. And so Williamson County, for instance, the last Census Bureau said that they were close to hitting 700,000 people. And so the judges say as the population has grown, so has the death cases.
Each cover the entire county for a full week.
On an average, we usually have 20 to 30 deaths within a week.
Do you feel you're qualified to determine cause and manner of death?
We have no medical training. None of us have any kind of medical training.
Now, keep in mind, a JP can order, an autopsy, but often these autopsies are sent to either Travis County or a private forensics firm.
It's hard on the families. They're, kind of in limbo and they don't have a final cause of death.
They say it's just gotten to be a lot on top of their court dockets that also are growing. And so for some time now, they've been, saying something has to happen. They went to the county many times to try to also see if there were any solutions. And they actually really put themselves out there by sharing this publicly. And when they did that at a budget meeting like last year, when they were talking about all of this, they were put on the spot, by the former county judge who really talked down to them about, coming to us to air their concerns versus the county, which the judges say they had done that for some time.
There will be a day, probably not in our time as public officials, but there will be a day that there is a medical examiner's office in Williamson County, and we continue to take steps moving in that direction.
The county has taken several steps. They've tried to find different solutions until the county can establish its own medical examiner's office. And this was something this last legislative session that lawmakers also looked at very closely. In fact, there was a bill that could have changed the population threshold, but it didn't get very far this session. It never made it to the governor's desk. However, the lawmakers who were involved with that legislation say there's got to be a study to see how the state can bring in more medical examiners.
So let's go back to Williamson County. You mentioned that there were some solutions on the table that are already here. What ended up happening there?
Well, their bigger goal is to one day establish a medical examiner's office. But Williamson County right now, they had to come up with an immediate solution. So that solution was hiring late last year 4 death investigators. And the death investigators were to come in, each assigned to one of the county justice of the peace judges, and really meant to be there to help the judges, whether it was going out to crime scenes or taking reports, really just facilitating the judges with the investigation, the death investigation, and they all have forensic experience. In fact, not long ago, we sat down with one of the 4 death investigators and got a really great insight into their role and what they do.
We're kind of the eyes and the ears for the judges. So, I'm going to collect and get whatever information I can get to provide it to the justice of the peace so that way they can make the best decision for our county.
What has been the result of the death investigators being there?
Kelly, the death investigators started in January, so it's been about 6 months now. And the judges, I've been talking to them throughout this process. They said, unfortunately, as of today, they have not seen the relief that they were hoping to see. They released, a statement saying that their responsibilities with, handling court dockets that are growing and then still being so actively involved in these death investigations has really not provided them the time they need to give back to the courtrooms. And so they're still trying to figure it out.
Wow. So they finally get some quote unquote relief, but they're saying it's still not working. How is that possible that they have these new staff members and that's not helping them out? Do you have any insight into what the disconnect is?
Well, Kelly, the county says this is a new program and they don't have a playbook on how to do this. So they say it's going to take some time for the death investigators to get used to the justice of the peace judges and the way they do things. And so the county says it's going to take some time, but the judges say, these death investigators come with a lot of experience. They have forensic experience. They've worked at other medical examiners' offices across the state, the counties that have them. And so they were expecting more of an immediate relief. And in fact, it's gotten to the point where we just, reported that one of the county judges told us that she no longer is going to be utilizing the assistance of her death investigator. And at this point, she's just going to continue to do it on her own because the relief has not been there and she's having to do more work to get everybody on the same page.
So one of the judges, one of the JPs that sat down in front of you and said, we need help, we need assistance, says, not only is the help not coming quick enough, the relief isn't coming quick enough, but it's actually increasing my burden slightly. How is that possible?
She says, there's a lot of learning curve that has to go with this right now, and it just hasn't gotten there. It's 6 months into the job. And so at this point, the judges are saying, we need to look at long term, what's going to happen. The county needs a medical examiner's office today. And if that's not going to happen, then we need to look at the death investigator program and possibly restructure it because what's happening right now is not working. And so the county and the judges want to sit down to see how to move forward.
And you mentioned the medical examiner's office. That's their ultimate goal. That's what they really want to see. How far off is that from coming to reality?
The biggest move on that was that the county locked in a location in North Austin, right, off of 183 in the Lake Creek area where the new Dell Children's Hospital is in that area. So they've locked in a location for the future site of the medical examiner's office. But as far as the timeline goes, I'm told by the county, it really has not been discussed yet by county commissioners.
Arezow, thank you as always for your reporting, and you stayed on this story. And I remember the first time we talked about it in here, you centered it around a family who had been quite frustrated with the current system. And I know they're watching and looking for what's going to ultimately happen in this situation. So thank you for your reporting. And thank you for listening to this episode of Inside the Investigation. We release a new episode every Friday morning on the KXAN Investigates podcast. You can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also watch us on our KXAN Plus app, which is available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Roku. I'm Kelly Wiley. We'll see you next time.